people? Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by James Arano for a game of the Wildsea. The Wildsea is a post-fall fantasy tabletop role-playing game set in a rampant ocean of verdant green. Some 300 years ago, the empires of the world were toppled by a wave of fast-growing greenery, a tide of rampant growth spilling from the west, known as the Wildsea. Now, chainsaw-driven ships cut their way through a dense treetop waves, their engines powered by oil fruit, rope golems, honey, and pride. Players take on the role of wild sailors, part of a motley crew consisting of humanity's weathered descendants, cactoid gunslingers, centipedal fungi, silk-clothed cider folk, and other stranger things. With your fellow crew members, you'll journey across the Lingen Tide, developing charts, pursuing drives, and avoiding mires of the deep. Y'all, this game was a treasure. It was such a wonderful world to explore and space to get to play around in. I had such a wonderful time with it. I really can't wait for you to hear the game that we played and the story that we told. You can find more information about Wildsea in the show notes. James is an actor in the Bay Area. He is also a creative producer for Quests and Chaos, which is an actual play channel that you can hear on YouTube. You can find more information about Quests and Chaos in the show notes. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited. I know that we've been talking about this game for a little while, and having gone through all of everything, I'm just so stoked. I'm sitting down with James Arano. James, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Hello, thank you for having me, Jeff. So excited to be here.
I'm so stoked. Today's game is going to be so much fun. Before we get into that, though, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on you might want them to know about.
Hello, all. My name is James Arano. I'm an actor in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I am also one of the creative producers for a channel called Quests and Chaos, where we are on the YouTubes, and yeah.
Fantastic. So we are playing the Wildsea, which is a game of seafaring, sort of seafaring adventure in a distant, unrecognizable future. We are exploring a world that is overgrown with ever-expanding, living, thriving plant life in an unrecognizable world. So talk to me about, what is it about this game? What is it about the genre? What are we bringing to the table? And what's got you excited to play this game here today?
Yeah. So the Wildsea is let's see who created it. It was Felix Isaacs. Created it's such an evocative world, and I was talking with Jeff over here. It's hey, I really want something that kind of hits in that Treasure Planet vibe, because that is my favorite Disney movie. The fact that the main character
that's a valid pick
is also is named James, and solar surfers and all of that. But then to flip the post-apocalypse on its head, as opposed to complete desolation, is complete overgrowth, and the challenges that come from that. It's just so fascinating. And this book, when you take a look through it, it creates some of the most evocative images and ideas.
So evocative. There's so much in here. Every page is bursting with description, and it's just bursting with world details. Every illustration, every little line of text is just it explodes off of the page.
It's personality. It's personality that is so distinctly the Wildsea. And after taking a look at that, it's just, I knew I had to create some kind of story within this world.
I'm so excited. Yeah, as soon as you said Treasure Planet, my brain started spinning a little bit, because that is a vibe that I love. I love a good big, elaborate science fantasy swashbuckling adventure. These are all things that I love independently, and put them together, and I am a happy boy. And so getting to put together situations in this world and truly just like flip through the pages and be like, oh, that's a super cool detail. How do I play with this within the space? Immediately, like, ideas started cooking, and then when you described the character that you had rolled up, and then the ship that we built together, which you can hear on Patreon right now, listeners, is like, it all fits so perfectly into kind of what I was poking at that I just, the wheels have been turning, and I'm at 11 is where I think my excitement is right now.
You gotta crank it up to 11 sometimes, Jeff. You gotta crank it up.
You gotta crank it to 11 sometimes. So talk to me about the character that you've created. Talk to me about their ship. Talk to me about like who they are in the world of the Wildsea.
Yes. So, while perusing this book, one of the first things I looked at wasn't any of the races. It was the jobs, the post as they call it here. And the post, in my case, for this character, is literally the post. They are a word bearer, aka they are a post person who delivers packages across this giant green expanse. And then that just started cooking and more things started turning. And looking at over all the races or bloodlines they're called in this book, the Ironbound just seemed like a very fascinating fit for a postman, because the Ironbound is the lost souls of a person or possibly multiple people that inhabit machinery like an automaton. And are they a ghost in the shell? Are they a new soul? And then carrying people's memories, whether they're in letters or in packages, seems like a fascinating exploration of that concept.
It really does. And like the idea, like some of the specific aspects that I know your character has, the idea of your character's spotlight lantern. Your soul burns so bright that like you and your crew and people around you can see through the darkness. For a world which, a little bit of an overview of the Wildsea, you put it really nicely. It's a post-apocalypse by way of overgrowth. It is seas of endless forest canopy. Everything has been sort of poisoned with growth. Everything is just constantly expanding. Trees are intertwining. Animals are growing larger and larger and more chaotic and more unrecognizable to how we see them. And in this world, there are wild sailors. There are ships blasting across these forest canopies with jet engine airships and chainsaw propellers that are sending them hurtling atop these trees. There is something so compelling to me about someone whose job it is to deliver messages and deliver packages. And the thing about your character that tied into where I was coming at this from, like a storytelling perspective, from a a Firefly's perspective, as they call it, the sort of GM role, which I really love. From a Firefly perspective, that character having a kind of like being primed for the specialty of going where other word bearers can't is so exciting to me.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit beforehand about where we're planning on going with this. And yeah, it's just the idea of a person in the suit going where no one else can go. As a person who loves to travel in some of the most randomest of places, it is really a singular experience to be at what I consider at times the edges of the world.
Yeah.
Where no one else can be. And at those points, you just seem to come to understand yourself better.
Fuck yes. So the first thing that we see, we open on the visual of your ship floating or like bouncing between some trees atop the canopy in the skies atop the thrash. The ahead of the wave tops, the fields of leaves, the ever sort of tide blossoming treetop canopies, your ship is sitting relatively stably. Talk to me about the visual of your ship that we see here.
Yes, the ship right now that we have, it's not... my Ironbound's name is Cyrano. It's not Cyrano's ship, but Cyrano has found themselves on this ship that is long, sleek. The underhull of it all is lined with chitinous material from massive insects that give it a nice smooth glide over the canopy. At the front, to further aerodynamic it, is a bladed prow that just juts forward because it's not safe on the Wildsea. The blade is there to help cut through not just the canopy and the leaves and the overgrowth, but potentially marauders and dangerous folk who come upon their ship. And then, in sharp contrast, on the backside are two massive jet engines that are fueled by an engine within that takes on the rotting fruit and roots of the Wildsea to convert that into straight up nitro.
I love it so much. There is something so joyful about like this very sleek, very mobile thing that is just like rockets, jet engines just sort of like haphazardly strapped to the back because you know what? Sometimes you just gotta go fast. And we see this ship floating on top of the canopy, and we get a brief look inside of it as Captain Therapazide Wolf is like flipping engines, and we see for a moment like 8 limbs, big elaborate, gotta be wearing like a captain's pirate hat. It's a thing that is important to me, and sometimes we have to throw in the things that are important to us. Big pirate hat, 8 limbs, is grabbing at things, and at one point we see him grab at a wheel, pull it, and like 2 of his arms dissolve as like they break into a swarm of insects that like get inside of bits of the ship's like paneling and computer things and start like manually flipping switches and pulling wires. I imagine this is how he pilots a lot of the ship, is because he is I should specify this at this moment. He is a Zelicrae, and a Zelicrae is a spider colony wrapped in a human-esque skin, thousands of arachnid minds holding onto one another. He is like breaking apart into individual pieces to kind of like pull at different parts of the ship. And we follow this, and we come out of the ship, and we follow ourselves down. We descend into the forest sea itself, down past the thrash, into the furthest most depths that a wild sailor may travel to, into the Tangle, a liminal space between inhabitable and inhospitable, branches as vines as far as the eye can see, just the overwhelming feeling of pressure. Mushrooms and branches and spores and mold and moss just increasingly tightly packing it in, packing together and packing in on itself, feeling like that you feel this ever expanding pressure. And this is where we find your character Cyrano at this moment. You are like crawling or like hopping through a series of appearing and then disappearing through this compression tunnels and like gaps through this space, because you and your crew have received a signal on your shortband radio of a distress call and like an emergency message that needs to be delivered to a nearby port.
Yeah. And as Cyrano is traversing through these ever-weaving roots and vines, they're not a pretty machine. They seem to be hobbled together of bits of the thrash of the wood, some slightly glowing crescenine glow within some of the make that gives them their physical form, bits of metal and rust. And atop it is this massive metallic head, but at its center is this glowing, bright, light blue light. And at times the whiffs just kind of come off of it. And this is Cyrano's very soul being laid bare before every person and thing that comes across it. But in this dark, deep expanse, it just glows ever brighter because there is no other light that can be seen.
And we see this beam of light. There is like a swarm of tangle flies that like are illuminated, so there is this moment of like golden glitter floating through the air. A thing that we see is a gigantic axe head sloth, which is this humongous herbivorous creature that is just like so large, punch its way through a tree and leave a large gap that we kind of see Cyrano move through a little bit. Like, it's a lot of that is sort of navigating through this part of the tangle as you approach your your destination, the source of this distressed call. You see it. It's funny to say a short distance away because the tangle, nothing is quite a short distance away, but you can see carving its own space is an undertangle sort of bubble ship. Imagine like an old timey like World War I bomb. You know, the kind of undersea bombs with the big spikes on them. Imagine that with a porthole on the front of it, and like it's floating and it's carving, and like it is periodically like each of its arms is periodically like spinning like a drill to just like carve pieces away as it sort of floats among this overwhelming sea of vine and branch and fungus. You see this floating, and you know that this is the location the signal is coming from. This is the what do I call this? I should have come up with a name for this because I knew this was going to be a thing you were going to find. But you know, that's the magic of games sometimes. This is the Ooh, I got it. This is the subconscious insight, because this is a research vessel under the tangle. This is the subconscious insight.
So yes, as Cyrano crests over a large root and then comes into view of the subconscious insight, a small little wheezing machine that kind of coughs up little bits of exhaust every now and then comes over and flits onto Cyrano's wrist, and a piece of paper pops out as Cyrano looks at it, looks over at the subconscious insight. It's like, I do believe this is where we are meant to be found, or I do believe this is where we are meant to go. And they will continue to go across the branches, keeping ever so present in sight of that giant axe-faced sloth to make sure that it's not coming up from behind in any way or any form.
I think we're gonna call this. I want to give this an action roll as you kind of approach. Talk to me about like how you're approaching. Are you making yourself known to the insight? Are you prioritizing like moving quietly until you can get close enough to knock or like or signal at the doorway? Like, what is your plan for approaching this ship?
I think if Cyrano has clocked that the sloth is not nearby, they will continue to just go in a straight fashion towards the ship as they can. And as they get closer, they will make themselves known in a couple ways. One, it seems like their soul fire just brightens up just a bit, and then recedes and brightens up, almost like a soft signaling of their presence. And then they will also call out and saying, "Hello, I am Cyrano of the Word Bearers. I'm here to pick up a package."
Immediately, one of the arms of this vessel, starts to rotate towards you with a big, elaborate, and I think what I'm envisioning, to give this a little bit of fantasy and justify the arms moving, is it's almost a little bit of like a round Rubik's cube, where it's individual rings that kind of move around with arms, and one of them kind of like rotates towards you with a big honking harpoon gun at the end of it. The porthole doorway is still directly in front of you, but now there is also a harpoon gun lingering.
And does it look like it's primed and ready to fire?
It does look like it's primed and ready to fire. It doesn't look like it is an active it's not an active threat or attack. It is a little bit of a warning. I'm gonna ask you for a roll and talk to me about. So how rolls work in Wildsea is you are gonna roll a number of dice. You're gonna start with 1d6. I think this is your edges are grace, iron, instinct, sharps, teeth, tides, and veils.
Yeah, so for myself, I've marked veils, iron, and tides. I'm thinking, let's see, with this presentation of the threat of the harpoon, Cyrano will just brace themselves, really settle into their stance, and say, "I do not mean any harm. I'm simply here after a distress call was sent out, and I'm here to pick up the package to be sent elsewhere."
I think that, I think there's a long moment of silence. I think there's a long moment of lingering before you hear with a long, chunk, the porthole kind of pushes open slightly. It doesn't fully open, it doesn't swing open, but it depressurizes in a way that you can pull it open and come inside. The interior of the subconscious insight is one large, it's not rooms per se, it is one large deck with a handful of beds kind of molded into these sort of rotating walls. There are about six individuals walking around, and none of them everyone looks on edge is how I will describe them. Everyone is moving with uncertainty. There is this overwhelming feeling that you pick up on the moment you set foot that it's anticipation is what it is. It is waiting for the big boom to happen. What are you doing in this moment?
Yeah, as Cyrano takes all of this in, they look around. "Excuse me, I don't mean to pry, but I have received a distress signal from this ship and am wondering if there is a package to be delivered. If not, as a word bearer, I will simply go on my way."
The captain of this vessel, a Gao, a fungal explorer gifted freedom by the rustling waves, a mushroom person, peers around a large map that has been posted up around peers around this large map, comes out to greet you. Big blunderbuss on her back, starts walking towards you. "Somebody got our signal. Fantastic. We do have a package for you. Can we trust you?" is the question.
And even though there aren't really much in terms of facial features for Cyrano, the light at the center of their face softens. And there's almost a rote repetition of the oath of the word bearers is, anything that you give me, it will be delivered.
Okay. Everybody, we can trust them. We can trust them. I'm making the call as captain. Don't make me regret this. And she steps back a little bit, breathes, and guides you over around this giant map and pulls out a small amber beehive is how there's like a honeycomb almost. And there are glowing insects floating around it. This is talk to me about the port that you have seen this messaging, this style of message, because obviously word bearing and bringing packages and things of that nature is a pretty vast experience in a world where every creature is a vastly different shape and bloodline and experience. What is the port where you have seen messages delivered by honeycomb before?
I think as Cyrano receives this package, they give a slightly cock-headed turn to their head and is confused. Typically when we receive packages, they are typically wrapped in some way or fashion. To be able to see the contents is very strange and not something that I am typically of purview as a word bearer.
And she pauses for a moment and said, well, we figure there's not really time to gussy it up and put it in gift wrap. This is a bit more of a pressing message. We need you to get to what's a good port name? You know what? We're just going to make it very literal. We need you to get to Honeycomb ASAP. We need you to deliver this. Time determines whether this is an opportunity or a nightmare. That's really up to how quickly you can get this to where it needs to go.
With that sense of import in their hands, Cyrano will take this amber-encased beehive.
And I think the second you put it in your hands, the message comes out. You as you had mentioned, usually messages are wrapped up. They are hidden. You are not exposed to however the means of communicating information. But the second you put your hands on this, the bees fly out of it and surround you and sort of crawl through various pieces of your mechanized body a little bit. And in that glowing and buzzing, you get a message that the Terrapex has been spotted. We have an opportunity to capture it, study it, claim it, fight it back. It is on the move, and if it is not routed or worse, it's on a collision course with Honeycomb. They are requesting supplies, they are requesting reinforcements, and this is a moment that I want to, this is and the thing that you get from this message, you get the implication of which moments before you spot something. They are prepared to do what they must to route this Leviathan as much as possible. And as you hear those words in the buzzing of the bees, that's when you see them. 3 of them. Not massive, large enough that they would have to be held in 2 hands, but not massive, but not ship-sized, not gunnery-sized, but big nonetheless. They have on this vessel, this what appears by all rights to be a research vessel. They have what are unmistakably flame bellows. Now,
Ooh.
you know this, and the listener knows this as well. Fire, in a world that is overwhelmingly plant life, is forbidden. And a flame bellows, a straight up a bellow that when you squeeze it spits fire and heat and lava and all and inferno, is double extra forbidden. How does Cyrano react when they see these weapons stashed in the corner of this particular ship?
I think they're going to immediately drop the glowing beehive as their vision is no longer of the surrounding of themselves right now, but they just see flashes of images of being embroiled in flame as the bows they are near just seems to crumble away, and all they can see is orange and red flames, and they can't breathe. Despite the heat that they feel in this memory, they feel incredibly cold before the crashing of the beehive brings them right back.
Yeah. And I think like moments before the beehive hits the ground, the captain tilts her body like 45 degrees at the hip, tilts her body, kicks forward her other leg, standing with perfect balance, and basically just like you watch her sort of fungal body shift its positioning to kind of turn that leg into an arm and turn her one leg into a stalk as she catches the beehive with a leg and just looks at you and goes, "Is that the level of precision that we can expect from this word bearer? Because I thought you just said we could trust you."
And as they come back to themselves, Cyrano looks out at the researchers, realizing the import of what they need to achieve. I apologize. There was something in my memories that came rushing back in addition to this message. Your message will be delivered. Honeycomb will still stand.
Kicks the beehive back into your hands, plops the leg back down, repositions her body. See to it that it's as quick as possible. There is so much more at stake than you realize. Turns back, walks back towards the map.
Now, is there, from this map that I can see, can I gather any information as to how quickly the Terrapex will be making collision course, or can I not make out the side of this map?
I think this is going to be a roll, because I think this is going to determine a few kind of what the what obstacles or advantages are ahead of you getting to Honeycomb and or figuring out where this Leviathan really is. So the way this is going to work is we are going to let me double check one piece of the puzzle, because I have to remind myself where are we at? Mechanics, word, actions. Here we go. I'm gonna. Do you have do you think one of your edges applies to this roll?
Yeah.
Let's build ourselves a pool.
I'm going to probably use tides as my edges, just because I understand the weave and the flow of the way the Wildsea moves.
That.
So I feel like that's a D6 for that edge. And then I have 2 marks in study, so I have an idea that will help out. And
do you have any resources or environmental? I'll give you an extra D6. You know what? No, I'm not going to give you an extra D6 for studying the map, because the map is the objective, and I think that The challenge here is like, are you able to glean information from the map itself?
Okay, then I also have sense as a skill.
I'll call that. I'll throw that in.
Okay, cool. And I've got 2 marks in sense for that. So then there's that, and then as one of my charts, I have an old tradeway from one of my resources. I don't know if it'll apply for this.
I think it does. I think you've got an understanding. That means you've got an understanding of like the trade routes and the ways that you would traditionally like take a ship. So I think I'll count that here. I'm gonna say so. That is. Let me look at my numbers. Let me look at my processes. You are adding 3d6 from skills because you can add up to 3d6 at a time.
Okay.
D6 for your edge and an additional d6 for your tradeway. So that is 3, 4, 5 d6.
5d6. All right. And here we go. Oh boy. We got double 6s, double 4s, and a 1.
A double 6 is the best result you can possibly get. Because that is a success with a twist. That is a triumph with a twist. A triumph is a complete success, no drawbacks. And a twist adds a small, potentially useful twist that I can suggest for this. Or since you're the only player, is there something else you want to get out of looking at this map? Is there something else you want to have to your advantage as you study this map that you want to glean from it?
Oh boy, oh. I think Cyrano, as they take in this map, seeing where Honeycomb is and the potential spottings of where the Leviathan is moving through. Oh boy. I can't think of a twist right now. Do you have any off the top of your head?
I've got one. I've got one that I think connects or throws an interesting wrench into this. The thing that you gather is there are markers on this map from other ports in the area that indicate that the subconscious insight has been to other ports, is not dispatched from Honeycomb and has been to other ports in the area with some frequency to imply that this is not necessarily, I guess what I'm trying to say is that like you have gathered information that indicates that they are not speaking to you on the level and that there is something being hidden from you. As regards to like the number of ports that have been indicated on this map that they have visited in the past, these are like roving. This is a roving crew. This is not an outpost of a particular port. This is a roving crew of mercenaries or travelers or question mark. Like this is not. The what was told to you on the distress call has not been accurate, and you are able to glean that by looking at this map, even for just a moment.
Okay. Cyrano, looking over to the female gal, looks over. Thank you for entrusting me as a word bearer to deliver this message. It is very much appreciated.
She gives you like she gives you a salute and a salute with like a little face glance of get the hell off of my ship and deliver my package.
Yep. And Cyrano will start to make their way out, go up and through the vines. Would it be reasonable, since we have a what is it? Fixed band radio on the ship, do you think we've been able to develop any shortwave communications from Cyrano to the ship above when they're doing these delves?
Absolutely, especially because Cyrano is an ironbound, like 100%. I think that you've got a radio maybe built into you a little bit that allows you to communicate back directly. I am going to call for a roll here. Because this is going to, and I'm going to specifically call for this is based in veils. Veils being that it represents veils being the edge that represents shadows, ciphers, and secrecy. Because like that they can find your frequency. Like this ship is built for research. It is built for science. Like this is if you want to contact them and contact your ship and speak freely and not potentially be overheard, that's going to be an action roll around veils. You don't have to take that, but I'm telling you the consequences of not making this roll.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, might as well.
All right.
It's more fun that way to put roadblocks in your way.
Rolling dice is fun.
We've got veils. Let's see. On terms of skills, could I give oof, boy, oh. I don't know if I have any particular ones, but we'll try giving sense, which is a twofer that I got, a 2 skill that I have.
I'm willing to give it here because you are acting on suspicion, I think, is why I'm calling it this. Like, this is the verbal equivalent of like keeping an eye over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is I wouldn't give it in many circumstances, but this feels right because you are keeping an eye over your shoulder.
Okay. So I think that's all I have. So that's 3.
That's 3.
And we'll give it a roll. We got a 1, a 4, and a 6.
6 is a triumph. You get exactly what you needed. You can speak freely to Wolf. Wolf buzzes in. Cyrano, talk to me. What's the good word?
Captain Wolf, there seems to be a bit of a... the folks that we've received this distress call from are not speaking on the level with me.
Not speaking on the level how?
It seems that, one, they are not in need of help. They are not distressed. They have been visiting various ports throughout the area, and are needing the routing and the support of moving a Leviathan, a Terrapex, out of the way. And it requires me to deliver this message to the port town of Honeycomb for that to be true, but it seems that what I deliver may not be truthfully what they are in need of.
Okay. Curiouser and curiouser. It sounds like what we're doing is delivering this message. I mean, word is bond, right? Word bearing is bond bearing. Sounds like we're dropping off this package at Honeycomb with an awful lot of asterisks and disclaimers. How does that sound?
It does indeed, Captain Wolf. And the other thing that I should mention, they do have 3 flame bellows within their hold.
I'm sorry, what?
3 flame bellows, and they are deep within the thrash.
Maybe lead with that next time.
I apologize, Captain. There seems to be a bit of a malfunction within my directive. When I saw the flame bellows, I saw visions of things that I personally have not seen before, but it seems I have felt and been a part of from time before.
About 4,000 of me just jumped ship. Okay, yeah, okay. Get back here as quickly as possible. Make sure that you are not followed and make sure that they think that you are on the level. And we will bring this information to Honeycomb as quickly as possible to make sure that they know what they want us to do, if I'm being honest. Okay, yeah. Talk to you on the surface.
Talk to you on the surface. And at the words of "be safe," he will look at the giant glowing amber honeycomb, and there will be a bit of a look of disapproval as much as can be put upon their face. And underneath their breath, they will say, "This will be delivered," and continue to rise up through the thrash and return back to the canopy.
Give me a roll give me a roll to navigate backwards. Here's what I'm gonna say. There are two distinct challenges ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to allow you to put your focus into one of them and succeed and make an action roll for the other.
Okay.
Is it more important to Cyrano to get to the surface safely or to get to the surface discreetly?
Discreetly.
I'm going to have you roll to get to the surface safely then. You are putting your energy into making sure that nobody from the Insight suspects anything, which means that I'm going to ask you to make an action roll that represents like how Cyrano navigates through the thrash to get back up to the surface.
Mm-hmm. I will say on terms of safety, I either have for my edges iron or tides. Iron to like push through, just fight back, and then tides.
I think pushing through feels better here.
Yeah.
I think pushing through is the energy for the thrash specifically, as it is just crushing in on you in every angle, and like you can feel the fungal spores start to like clog your gears, and you can feel that humidity. Like you can almost, you're so deep in this, you can almost feel the humidity like rusting your joints in real time. And so like there's a degree of just punching through vine and bush and brush and moss to get to the surface.
Nice. And for skills, I have a double in brace or a double in delve, with bracing being like more of a defensive, just...
I think delve feels good here, so add 2d6 for delve.
And as they are climbing upwards through the branches, holding what could potentially be a figurative grenade in their hand,
Yep.
Cyrano will also grab just a small locket that's kind of attached at their hip on a longer chain, and they'll look at it and they will flip it open, and there will just be a picture of a Mothrin, the moth people within this world. And for Cyrano, when they look at this image, they don't have any memories that particularly pops up. But it was one of the few things that came with them as they first began to coalesce as an Ironbound. And they don't know if it's themselves, they don't know if it's someone from long ago, but they just look at it whenever they are feeling unsure of how they should move through this world. And was wondering if I could use that little piece of salvage
Do it
as...
up. It put a smile on my face, and I have to reward that with a d6.
Hell yeah. Cool. So that gets me 46.
All right.
I am rolling statistically well that I'm very unsure about these dice that I'm borrowing from my brother at the moment. 6
We love this.
double 4s and a 3.
Okay, double 4s is a twist. 6 is a... hold on, let me confirm this. I'm about to call this a twist because I think twists are fun, but I don't know if that's technically correct. Use the highest single die and note if you have doubles. You have doubles, so your dice pool has doubles. So that is a triumph and a twist. The triumph is a complete success. You are able to get safely to the surface. Describe to me one of the challenges that Cyrano overcomes through quick thinking and sort of pushing through like what is an obstacle that emerges, and how does Cyrano like move past it?
Mm. Yes, let's see. It's the tangle we're in right now. So what's the next level moving into? What is that called?
The thrash is next,
The
moving into
thrash.
the highest levels of the canopy.
Yeah, as we start to get into the thrash, the light starts to be able to pour back in from the sun up above. But within the thrash, because it's not so thick, the footing of some of the branches, because they can constantly grow and shrink and shift and uh, uh, die. I imagine this was like a riptide, if you will. Just
Sure.
an undercurrent that just rips through one portion as Cyrano is going through, and immediately just hunkers down and clamps one of their iron hands into the root or the branch below them. And let's see, do I have any fun things? Sure. The little sortomaton. I'm gonna call it Chip.
Love it.
Chip,
Love it.
the little almost spider-like robot that has address it's an address book, but it has a bit of sentience to it, and it takes some of the twine and rope that Cyrano carries on them and just starts to lash them to the branch until this riptide ends. They're willing to sacrifice some of the time, knowing that they need to be hurried, but to make sure they don't fall down deeper below.
Love that. Yeah, you hold on to this riptide. Like you hold on, you push your way through, you get to the surface. Here is where I'm going to introduce my twist. And I am going to invoke some wonder and also make a big reveal, because there's a couple things are going to happen both at once. Let me find the exact page. Here we go. Two things happen at once. Like as you push through the thrash and start to get to the surface, this riptide, a wave of vines and branches and squirrels and things push past you, shove into you, and you hold on tight. And for a moment, the area opens up around you. Like for a moment, it opens up. You know, there is this gap, and you can sense that your ship is like not far overhead, but like this gap opens up, and you see a Leviathan. You see, in this space emerging is the Orchid Scar, a perpetual flowering Leviathan, rumored to be the first Leviathan ever conquered, and the second and the third. A massive half-mile wide flower that is bursting and lashing and stretching in every conceivable direction. Curiously, not the Leviathan that you were told was going to be emerging here. Like a wonder to see, but curiously, like not the one that this honeycomb that you're holding was indicating to the people of Honeycomb was imminently arriving.
Yeah. So Cyrano looks on dazed for a moment at just the fact. I don't think in their life so far as an Ironbound has witnessed a Leviathan. So to see one, and it just rooted or emerged right below.
Yeah. It's kind of like below and in front of you. Like it is like ahead of you and like slightly below. This thing is blossoming, and it is pushing trees and plants out of the way and just stretching in every which direction.
Yeah, I think they don't have a mouth, but from their soul that emanates from their face, just a few words are at the tip of their flare, and it comes out in a shout. And I'm going to use one of my whispers, back from beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And it forces a change, a high impact twist that's completely out of my control.
Love it. The twist here is the scar spots you. The orchid scar, which is not necessarily sentient as far as anyone can make out. It is like largely just a plant that is in an endless series of life and death. But like two things have been exposed. Like two things have happened at once. Like you have connected two dots. The scar has become aware of your location. The insight has become aware of your location. But crucially, two other things are true. The scar is aware of the insight's location, and the insight is aware of the scar's location. So there is a mutual sense of oh shit that permeates between you and this vessel as you tear to the surface and board the ship. And we hear the rumbling of these jets as they blast, and this colossal plant like punches through the surface of the canopy and like explodes, and petals fly out a half-mile long in any given direction. And you set sail towards the port of Honeycomb. You are not pursued because you have used that whisper, and you have introduced this big twist of like this being is aware of you and is also aware of the insight, which is now laying low. So you arrive at Honeycomb. What are two or three of the things that the ship sees as we fly through the canopy of the Wildsea?
Yeah, as it is rushing through, propelled by the jets on the back, the smooth chitinous material on the bottom. I mean, I guess it's Wolf's. What do we call him? Theraposidae?
Yeah, Theraposidae, yes.
Theraposidae Wolf. What's the name of his ship?
The name of his ship is it's the Web Between Worlds.
Woo! Nice.
Feeling good about it.
Oh, okay. So the Web Between Worlds just rockets through. Cyrano looks over the backside as this open air portion, the deck, is looking over and seeing just like that deep crevice that the orchid made, and looks forward, sees up above all of these avian-like creatures flying. Would it be towards? Yeah, avian creatures flying towards the orchid, just knowing that there will be scraps to pick up later. But knowing that is the way of current danger, the Web Between Worlds jets forward towards Honeycomb, and as Cyrano, the navigator for this ship, is currently mapping out, taking in the information that the Evershank, this massive tree that's, as you mentioned before, on the Wildsea, things that are close are honestly incredibly far away, seems to have shifted a bit, and he redoes his calculations on his map to indicate that the Honeycomb has shifted about 2 kilometers towards the north, and relays that to Captain Wolf, saying, "Captain Wolf, I believe, based on the shifting of the sea, that Honeycomb is shifted quite a few kilometers away."
Yeah, that's not super surprising given that whatever the hell is happening back there. And I think slams like a steering wheel, and the ship just like veers to the side, and we get a full Star Trek shot of every single person hurtled to the side of the wall. Your ship's bodyguards, Vix and Wedge, who we haven't mentioned, just because they're kind of around, but I need to call them out specifically, hurtled into a wall. They slam into each other. There's a whole Three Stooges moment. They're falling over each other. Yeah, I love, and I think the thing that we notice is like several points through the canopy burst out, as well as like several large animals sort of punch their way through several, specifically Pangoska, which are these like gigantic ape-like bush monsters, sort of punch through and start like running in all directions and like ducking down to hide themselves, like and we approach the port of Honeycomb. Honeycomb, structurally, you see very quickly one of the reasons why it is called that. It is a series of standalone structures that have been carved into some of these colossal tree shapes. There are some of, it is, it looks like a honey, like it looks like if it looks like a honeycomb, or it looks like the sections of a beehive, plugged into some of these trees. There are, like bugs and bee people floating around in various ways, like fluttering. There is a fair degree of chaos, as there was in fact a Leviathan that just burst through the canopy. So there is a little bit of chaos unfolding, but you approach the port. What do you do, and what does the crew do?
I will. Now, when I received the amber encased beehive, did it give me a particular person to deliver to?
It does. It sends you to the port. The portmaster, Varix. Varix is like an insectoid bee person, who like oversees much of the security and like much of the like logistical support of the port and its ships, and like the ways that people in Honeycomb travel from place to place.
Okay. I will ask, Captain, would it be advisable to have Vix and Wedge watch over the ship, or should I take one of them to find Portmaster Varix?
Hey, are you two gonna rob us if we leave you alone? Vix and Wedge, like, finally standing up, look at each other. Look at the two of you. I don't know, maybe. Captain looks back at you. It'll probably be fine.
All right, let us.
They're not gonna get far if they rob us, right?
No, they do not seem to be unable to operate many of the ship's capabilities as you have. You are basically a crew of 5 in 1.
That feels kind of insulting, but you know what? Fair.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite as familiar with the Tezel Cray.
No, that was Vix from over your shoulder.
Oh,
this seems
Vix.
insulting.
Well, are you able to operate the thrusters while also navigating and keeping eyes out while being below to make sure that the bladed prow does not get wedged within a large branch?
I mean, no, but like, all right, you go, fine.
Cyrano and Wolf will be very quick in asking around to try and find Varix.
You find Varix like overseeing practically an evacuation. People are getting loaded onto their wild ships and are like buzzing, like anybody with a ship is kind of like buzzing off over the Thrash to just get somewhere. Varix is does not have time for whatever you are about to say to him.
Portmaster Varix, I can see on your face that this is not the time to be mincing words. So, the subconscious insight has asked me to deliver this amber beehive to you. However, are you familiar with the subconscious insight?
Let me hear the message first, and like holds the beehive, and you kind of see from the outside the same experience. The bees float around. The beehive itself kind of glows. Eyes go wide for a moment. 2 Leviathan sightings in the same day. This is the worst shift of my life. What were you saying?
Yes, the subconscious insight. Are you familiar with them as an entity? They seem to be dabbling in things that are not quite on the level.
Subconscious insight doesn't ring a bell. Haven't been here prior. Why?
They have been sending out distress signals, yet they have been operational as they have been moving from port to port. And on the map, they hadn't made a stop at Honeycomb, right?
They had not made a stop at Honeycomb. And like the thing that you had started to notice is that they had stopped at several of the ports on the way to Honeycomb. Like it was you were able to piece together a little bit of a pathway that like Honeycomb was almost the next stop on a tour.
Unfortunately, I am unable to figure out their prime motivations. However, I do not believe what they are requesting is, well, they are requesting of a particular thing, but what that particular thing they are requesting for is not exactly what it is for.
It's fun. Yeah, okay, sure, yeah, okay. So, when you say they've been dabbling, what have they been dabbling in? What are we talking about here?
And then Cyrano will look around and try to get as close as physically allowed, that Varix allows. I am unsure exactly of what they are dabbling in. However, they do have 3 fire bellows aboard ship.
I thank you so much for letting me know, because if this crew is rolling up on ports, claiming that there is an emergency need, and they're loaded up with fire bellows, that says to me one thing. And pauses for a moment, looks at you, looks at Wolf, and at that moment, bursting out from the thrash, lashed at several points with vines and tendrils from the scar, is badly damaged the subconscious insight. Bursts through. They roll out with flame bellows just in time for the 3 of you to look, ready weapons. They're pirates.
Oh, this is unfortunate.
No, this is perfect. You let us know that a pirate crew was coming moments before they arrived, and you look, and several of like Varix's bodyguards are like standing around you, all with weapons drawn. It wasn't the package you intended to deliver, but I think that you just helped us and a lot of other ports keep safe at a moment when we needed it.
Oh, certainly. As the creed has said, this will be delivered.
It might not have been the package they wanted you to deliver, but I think it was the package we needed you to deliver. They kind of ready their flame bellows and like look up just in time to see that there are a lot more people standing around them. All right. Back in the ship. Maybe we'll have more luck with the giant plant.
Nope. There's something in my programming that says that I should not interact with further.
I think like you saying that out loud gives us a very fun closing beat. As the captain of the Insight like climbs back on board, she hears that. Her eyes go like what approximates as eyes on a gigantic mushroom with arms and legs. Go as wide as dish plates, and she just quietly turns in your direction, points at you, and then walks back on the ship, which descends lower below the thrush. I think that you just made plans with a friend to meet again. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, well, when I don't have packages, it can be quite lonely, so a friend is always nice to have.
I mean, maybe that makes one of us, because I am not looking forward to having to deal with some pirates with flame bellows, but job is a job. Now let's discuss payment. And I think on that closing beat, I think that's game.
Fantastic!
This was so much
this
fun.
setting.
Just getting to do a quick little glimpse at this world was just such a joy. Thank you so much for joining me and for going through this experience.
No, Jeff, I'm so thankful that I've been able to be here. This was so much fun.
This ruled. This ripped. What was your favorite moment from play?
Oh, goodness gracious. I honestly, it's just all the little elements of the world that you were able to introduce just for me created such imagery as Cyrano was exploring this world. It's something that evokes, when I was reading this book, it evokes just a pure childlike imagination in the sense of it's something so new and so different, but it's so fantastic that when you start introducing bit by bit by bit, it makes you just want to keep playing.
It really does. And there's such a joy to we were talking about this before we got on mic. There's a lot of book here. This is a hefty document. This is a 400-page book. And when I first cracked it open, I don't often get intimidated by games at this point. I'm pretty comfortable at diving in, cracking my knuckles, and figuring out what's on, how to dive in. I was openly intimidated when I cracked this open and really started going through it, because there's so much stuff that I was truly I don't know where to start. I don't know where to drop you in. I don't know how to bring all of this to the surface. And truly finding a good angle of kind of an unfolding moral thing, coupled with just throwing in weird world details like the axe sloth, or the axe-headed sloth, and just pulling in those little tiny details. You truly understand why the book is the way it is, because there's so much stuff for you to just go oh, this is a cool moment to drop in a completely weird animal that I think is going to have a wonderful reaction.
Yeah. And it's just, your viewers don't get videos, right?
No videos.
My face half of the time when Jeff here was introducing bits by bits, if I can describe it, it's like that Mario Party game where you stretch the faces and it looks really funky and weird.
Happy.
That's my face half of the time. But then also within this play, it was just, oh God, I was looking at my camera and myself. I was like, my face is making a really interesting face when you're just and what was the orchid? The scar orchid?
The scar orchid. Oh, what is the name of the orchid scar? I think it is.
Yeah. And it's just, oh gosh, what is that plant that Vileplume from Pokemon is based off of?
Yep.
Just it opens up, and it's just, for a plant, for a flower, it's supposed to, it has so much heft and weight compared to what we normally think of flowers, and then to bring in that, it's just so much.
It's great. This game rips. Thank you so much for playing this with me. This was such a joy to run through with you. I had so much fun with this.
Same here, Jeff. Same here. It has been truly a highlight of, not just of my day, of my time. This was so much fun.
This makes me so happy. Real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
For sure. Hey, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is James Aaron O. I am an actor, voice actor here in the San Francisco Bay Area. You can find me on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter. And
X, the everything app? The new town square?
You can find all of those. I am at James Aaron, AARON, OH at James Aaron O. And then also I am creative producer for Quests and Chaos, a channel that talks about and plays TTRPGs and board games. You can just find us on YouTube at Quests and Chaos.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining me on the show. This was a magical experience. And now I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to James for coming on the show. This game was everything that I'd hoped it would be and more. Like, this was such a wonderful experience getting to play the game and listen to the episode. I'm absolutely beaming. Be sure to hit the show notes to check out Quests and Chaos. Be sure to pick up your own copy of the Wildsea, and be sure to check out James's work on social media at James Aaron O. You can also find us on pretty much whichever social media you prefer at Party of One Pod or Jeff Stormer, depending. And if you enjoy the show and you want to support it, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Rain, featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.